Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video about the life in Japan. For this video, I'll be sharing about ways to save money. In Japan, it's so easy to spend money without really thinking about it. There are lots of cool things we want to try, and a lot of cool things we want to buy or do. However, most of those things, as you come to notice, are pretty useless. And even if you are planning to live here long term, it's especially important to think about your cash flow. So this will be 5 things to think about when you do live or travel in Japan to save money. The first thing is to make tabs on your spending. If you don't know what that means, it's just writing down or have some kind of app that could track your spending. Japan is quite different from other countries in that even though it's still quite advanced, they still use a lot of cash for most, if not all, of their payments. And the thing about cash is that it's hard to know how much you have until your wallet is empty, pretty much. You can see that there's money, or you can see that there's no money. By having a spending tracker, you can actually see what you've spent money on and how much you have left over if you do keep a budget as well. And just like a bank account, it could give you immediate feedback on your spending, because like cash, you don't really know how much you spend until you go to the ATM to get money. If you don't want to use an app, you can also use a spreadsheet as well. And that's what I was using for my first week or so in Japan. I didn't have a cell phone, so I just used a spreadsheet when I came back home. The only problem about that is you have to really be diligent about keeping tabs on what you spend, or else the whole thing will become useless. So that's the first thing, and it's probably the most important tip here. The second thing is to buy bentos after 7 p.m. at a store. If you don't know what a bento is, it's essentially like a meal box. So you have just literally some kind of box with food in it. And sometimes it's like in a plastic container, but you get the point. Also, as you will come to notice, most of your spending will be spent on food. Personally, for me, about a quarter of what I earn is spent on food, and that's like essential food, not like dining out or drinking and stuff. That's like what I need to survive. And also, because we spend so much on food, it's hard to really know that we spent a lot on food because we buy it daily, and we don't really notice the big price increase, because again, 500 here, 500 there, next thing you know you spent like 2,000 yen a day on food alone. So why 7 p.m.? Well, with grocery stores, after 7 p.m. the food starts to expire, so then they hike the price down to like 50% of what it originally is. So instead of paying like 600-700 yen for a meal box, you can get it for like 200 or 300 yen. It doesn't sound like you're saving much, but again, if you do this daily, you can save a lot of money per month. But the thing is, just make sure you eat the food right away, or else it will expire. The third thing is to actually eat at Japanese fast food restaurants. And there's a reason why these restaurants are so popular. People want to enjoy life and spend money on different things and not just spend it on food. And again, these places offer very reasonably priced food, usually about 500 or 600 yen for like a large meal set. And compared to places like McDonald's, which is like 700 or 800 yen, again, there's a big difference there. Also, with these Japanese fast food restaurants, they sometimes have like special events, special deals, so you can again get cheaper meals and cheaper food in the long run. So compared to McDonald's is actually a pretty expensive place to eat, so I don't recommend eating there daily unless you have some kind of loyalty card or something. So some examples of these restaurants are like Matsuya or Tsukiya. You'll probably see them all around, and I highly recommend trying them out if you do come to Japan. The fourth thing is to not use credit cards. I know it sounds a little strange, but credit cards are super convenient and they are very easy to use, especially online. However, that is also the problem. They're too convenient that you'll essentially end up spending on things that you don't really need. Also, as mentioned in a previous video about credit cards, you don't get to pay it off immediately. So the problem with that is, at the end of the month, right after a payday, you'll just see this huge drop in your balance because you're paying off that credit card balance per month. So if you made a big purchase during that month, then the next month you'll notice a huge decrease in your balance because you have to pay that off. and you'll eventually have less to spend on actual things you need during that month. So just be careful out there. The fifth thing is to avoid limited express trains. If you don't know what they are, they're usually nicer trains that go a little faster and look a little nicer and also arrive a little bit earlier. And of course, with all those benefits, there is a catch. The price of a limited express ticket is usually 50%, at least 50% more than a regular express ticket. And to be honest, they don't really reduce the travel time by much, usually maybe like 10% or maybe even up to 20% of the travel time. So again, you're spending 50% more just to decrease the travel time by 10 or 20%. There's not much of a benefit. However, most of the time when people do take those trains, it's for the experience of having a nicer car, of being in a larger seat, facing forward on the train, not on the side, things like that. They're nice, but they're not things that most people need. And again, if you are traveling, you want to actually spend money in that place and not spend most of it on the train just to get there. So those are the 5 tips on how to save money in Japan. Hopefully they're helpful, and if you have been living here for a while, maybe you'll find these tips useful as well. And like always, if you have any questions or comments, leave it down below and I'll get back to you. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I can't believe I'm saying that. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.